You were 20.
I was 20. I had just come back. I'd played rock and roll most of my life. Played in rock bands from the age of 12 to like 20 constantly. It's all I knew was, guitar and that kind of stuff. And people kept saying, "Hey, you'd make a good actor. Maybe you should, take a look at that and this and that." And I was reasonably attractive at the time. I thought, whatever. Maybe people are just saying it, for that reason. But it really it seemed to make. I really didn't know. I'd come back from writing songs in Atlanta. I was living in Florida. Then Atlanta, I moved away quite young after college and going to school for musical composition. I knew I didn't really want to be a teacher or just do classical stuff. And moved back and tried out for a play by Sam Shepard called True West, and kind of fell in love. It was such a great experience, And I knew it was what I wanted to do. Couldn't make the decision because I thought, oh, actor to musician, forget about it. I mean, sorry, musician to actor, just there's going to be no money ever. So I tried out for a play, and I kind of just threw a prayer up there. I just said, if I get this lead in this part, that's it. I'm not going to look back. That's kind of how I did it.
And then how'd you get into the actor's studio?
Long way around. I went to New York, worked with Stella Adler. Started out with Shakespeare. That was my first stuff, which I was very happy to start that way. Kind of gave me a love of poetry. I went to a community college that was just beautiful. They just showed you all the little details of the language, and it's nice not to be afraid of language, especially doing this film. It just kind of gives you a different approach. You're not so nervous about jargon. You can find your way through it, and of course it makes sense to the writer, but then the actor has to translate. But I'm sideways now, aren't we?
No, that's the acting. No, you're good.
The acting. So the actor's studio came later on. I did classical. Then I went to New York to work with Stella Adler, who was a well-known teacher. Really fell in love with her. She was kind of ending and retiring at the time. Then I did Meisner work for a couple of years, which I think is great work. In fact, Christina Moses on this film, and me and her share the same teacher, so it was really nice when we got in the seats. I was like, oh great, she's Meisner trained and we can just fly, because it's all about a little bit more about listening than other techniques. And then I went to the studio, not really wanting to be a part of the actor's studio. I just thought, social, maybe I'll meet some people. A friend of mine was there. I started out as an observer, and they kind of recognized some work I had done and invited me in. Arthur Penn actually was the person that invited me into the actor's studio.
You worked with some of the well-known greats in the actor's studio. Who are those?
I worked with Al Pacino. I worked with a lot of great actors there. Paul Newman. I'd done a reading with Paul Newman at once. I was very starstruck. It's great. He was like my dad's hero. I was like, wow, Paul Newman, oh God, so many great actors from there. Just the list goes on. But Al Pacino I did do Salome with. We did that out here in Los Angeles, and we did it for about, I think about 3 months. We did it on stage at the Wadsworth Theater, and he was great. It was really a gift working with him. We had met before at his house and stuff, but that was the first time actually working together, and he just his instrument's amazing. I mean, it really just is.
What's he like to work with?
He's very generous. I mean, he was very nice to me. I changed some things. He really didn't shut me down. I felt he was appreciative of what I brought, and I was really thankful that his ego was. He didn't really have an ego. He really seemed to be about the part, and but his instrument's really like an animal, really just so full on stage. I mean, if you ever get a chance to see him, really learned a lot watching him move with an audience. I thought he was probably the best theater actor I've ever seen. And 20 years earlier, an odd story bringing up Paul Newman, I had somehow got a ticket through Al, sat next to Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, the original Salome, which I wasn't in. This was 20 years before I'm in it, or 15 years before. He does things for long periods of time as a meditation, I guess. Best way to say it, Al, I don't know. But I'm sitting next to him, and he had this moment where he was listening for butterflies as King Herod. I believe that's the character, King Herod, yeah, with Salome. And it's a very odd moment because he's going insane. And I don't know how he did it. It was at Circle and Square in New York. And he just listens, and it was so spooky. However he did it, it was just scared the hell out of the audience. And I remember, I thought, wow, was that in my head, or did I just see that, But simultaneously, Paul Newman was here. We both turned to each other, and he said, I know. Like, I saw that too. That was insane, whatever that was, So it was really quite a goosebump moment of like something I had really thought was just years of on the stage, and also an incredible amount of God-given talent all put together, Him and Christine Lottie in New York, I think, did the two best performances I've ever seen live.
Well, what did the Actors Studio teach you? You know, what was the? I mean, what do they do? I mean, because somebody's on the outside, they say, the
Sure.
Club. What actually goes on inside?
The Actors Studio is a lot goes on. The good foot or the no? I'm kidding. It's really a place for professional actors. I don't think it's a place for beginning actors. It's a professional place. I think you have to have a sense of your own craft and yourself, and then I think it can be very enhancing. They do sensory work, which is using your senses and and getting in touch with a part of your body in a different way than just the mental way of getting into a scene. They do some effective memories. They do talking and listening, just like Meisner work, but it's a little bit different, the emphasis. You got a lot of professional great actors. Martin Landau and Mark Rydell are friends of mine and have been really great mentors and stuff. I think I've learned a lot from. I think it's also about analyzing scenes, how not to start a scene at the end or have some of those elements so you can then go here at the end of the movie. If you don't have it in the beginning, sometimes, a hint of that person, let's say, that turns into a really bad person at the end without going telegraphing the whole piece, So there's a lot of subtleties, but you have to be fairly strong because you'll do a scene, the moderator will talk, you'll talk about what you worked on, which for some actors is very hard, even for me. Sometimes, it's really about my body. If I can get my body into a character, sometimes I can get into another realm of, I'm kind of on an intuitive place with it. I know where I'm going, but my body's starting to take over and teach me what this character's doing, I can't always get there, but when I can, it's a lovely experience. But, so sometimes to articulate it is another quality as well. Hey, I worked on this, or I worked on the preparation coming in, and then people can talk and say if they saw that or not. I think the main thing, and then everyone comments on that. All the actors comment on that, and you have to be strong enough to take the good with the bad, sometimes great stuff, sometimes stuff that you may not agree with, and you have to, but it's a privilege in many ways. I mean, I've made some best friends and girlfriends and all that other kind of stuff from there that have enhanced my life,
It seems so intense.
It is. I mean, the one thing I will say, and I'm at a member almost 20 years. I started out, like I said, with Frank Casaro and Arthur Penn and Shelley Winters I had met there and, learned a lot from her as well. And Frances Fisher, and there's been so many people I've worked from there that are just terrific actors and actresses. And is that you have to be careful a little bit. You do have to throw away. You have to use. I think Johnny Depp said this, and this rings true to me. Like he said, I think he's just really terrifically talented, a genius in many ways. Use everything around you. Like the people, the set. In a way. Even Jessica Chastain just said that. She goes, I prepare and then I don't know what I'm going to do in the moment because I got to look at the other actor and be there as a human being. So I think you have to be careful with like prepping, but also utilizing the director. In this case, Neil is relaxed and makes it enjoyable and, so fantastic to work with. But when a director's relaxed like that, actors feel like they can do their best work because they feel like they're not, pressured. And you got to do your work no matter what, pressured or non-pressured. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But
what else did you learn from Johnny Depp?
I think he uses his body a lot. I think he's a hell of a character actor as well. Leading man character actor. I think he's a different kind of prototype. I think he's smart. I think he uses his intuition. I think he also jumped out of where he was going to Edward Scissorhands, and then that whole other thing flowed. And I think he's just fantastic. I think he really tells a story on many, many levels. Yeah, I mean, I just think the way he stays alive on the set, you could tell he stays very alive. The what? Yeah, yeah.
He's insane in that. Like he's scary.
Yeah, and I think he found his core. I've never met him. I don't know him, but I mean, I think, his eccentricity or his innocence, whatever that is that he brings to those roles. I mean, I think he's fabulous. I think every actor has a kind of a core thing they go towards. I think. Philip Seymour Hoffman, definitely was addiction and perversion, not in the sense of anything against him or, his ending and stuff. But, I think everyone has their things. I think Al Pacino, I think it's power. I think he's either has abuse of power or lack of. I think those are the roles he's strongest in. If you look at his real work, I think that we all, as human beings, we're bringing our real stuff is what we're best at. Jack Nicholson.
What's your call?
I will have to say, it's. I think it's trying to. let me say this in an intelligent manner. I think it's understanding male-female dynamics. I think that's my real goal, is when I'm in those positions of dealing with understanding all the complexities of male-female relationships, I think is stuff I'm best at. I would say my two favorite plays to do were Neil Simon's California Suite, which is a really hysterical play, and Macbeth. And they're really, although they're like complete opposite spectrums, I mean, they have those themes in them of, you know, the wife and the this and the that and trying to work it out. And I'm sure my own life
Are you
has...
good at that in real life?
I hope that I'm improving. I'm trying. No, I think, yeah, I think I've had my struggles, sure. I mean, I think what you're best at as an actor is what you struggle with in life sometimes, you know. I mean, I think those two things have to be, they're contemplations. You know, I wouldn't say compensation fantasy, that's too much of a psychological term maybe, but I think we are still trying to figure something out, you know. I think within myself, I'm trying to figure out my own journey just like anyone else, you know. Yeah, I mean, first of all, the cast was great. You know, I really just liked everybody, and it was, you know, such a privilege to be on the set and for you to have written this and everything else. I was just thrilled. You know, when you sit back at the reading like, hey, I got a part for you, I was like, yeah, sure, that's never going to happen, but thanks a lot, you know. I think, you know, Raja just brings a lot of mojo right to the set. So, I mean, she brought so much energy that, you know, it was so easy to kind of fall into that. She has a lot of sensuality and sexuality and power, and so I was kind of right at home, you know, given my own themes I just talked about. I just thought, okay, we're gonna, you know, it's gonna be great, you know. And she cares about the work as an actress, and so that all makes it really easy, you know. Our bedroom scene or whatever, you know, it was very relaxed, and it was, you know, we trusted each other. We spoke about it and set some parameters, and I think you want to feel okay with your fellow actor and not taken advantage of. But, you know, we had kind of a intense scene to do, so we had to kind of work it out, and she was fabulous, you know. So yeah, you know, Christina was very interesting because she has a different kind of subtlety. You know, she's a completely different actress, you know, different human being, you know. And irrespective of both their talents, which are both terrific, they're just different beings coming to the set, you know. And Christina, you know, they're both beautiful, and, you know, Christina's, you know, stunning also in every way. But I think she's smart. She's got kind of a warrior energy. She had other things that I think also intellectually, you know, piqued my interest through her character, you know, which I think is also her. You know, we walked on the set, and it was interesting. Interesting story. Before I met her, the day of the filming, it was very kind of cool. I walked in my backyard, and a butterfly hit me in the back, like really like slammed me right in the back, and I was like, you know, okay, odd, you know. And I go to the set, and I see her over there, and I look at her wrist, and she's got a big old butterfly on her wrist, and I'm like, well, okay, I'm meant to work with this person today, that's for sure. Maybe I'm going to learn something. But it turns out that we also know similar teachers, similar Tibetan teachers and stuff, Rinpoche Bakatuku and other people, and she has another teacher as well. So we had a lot in common right away, kind of spiritually, you know, which was kind of, or spiritual seeking and that kind of thing. So I don't know, it was a very different dynamic. I think I kind of just, with Raja, I think it was more about power. You know, who's got the power, where are we going? Things could get explosive at any minute, sexually, otherwise, violence, anything could kind of happen. And I think with Christina, all that is there in a certain way, but I think between us, it was a little bit more of a delicate kind of, you know, moving of energy around it, which I think I was sensitive to. And, you know, maybe that goes back to the Meisner work, having similarities in training. But when we sat down in the little Starship, you know, rock and roll sports ship, you know, it was just so nice because we could kind of just be, you know. It was really lovely just to kind of be and listen, and the moments didn't feel, you know, too pushed there. It was rather lovely, you know. So, and the longing was easy with her, you know, the kind of longing, and I think she's got a warrior vibe. I think she has this kind of warrior vibe of kind of, she can take care of herself. She doesn't necessarily need a man, but certainly would welcome one, but not, you know, she's kind of a complete being, I think, which, you know, is a testament to herself as her development as a woman in real life. and also as the actress. I think both of those things are qualities where I felt with Raja, and this could, I'm not saying Raja is all these things either and pinning someone down to one thing. I just think that it was much more of the wife, the girlfriend, that other kind of dynamic of a different relationship, Yeah, Darren is. I will put this out there right away.
Yeah.
Having come from Shakespeare, I'm very competitive with English actors. I pride myself on loving the language, and I really hate that they think that they're the shit when it comes to Shakespeare, and they are great. They do it a lot more than us. But so I have this natural competitiveness which is there, which I know, but I just like taking the piss out of them occasionally in scenes. But really, there wasn't that much competition. We were really a team right from the get-go, and huh? Yeah, it was. He's just a great guy, and he's easy to work with. He came ready to go. He cared. I learned a lot from sci-fi on this set. I would approach things differently, now, in the sense that I think I'd have my story and my relationships a little differently in place before the movie started. We were going kind of at lightning speed, and I think everything worked out just fine. But I think I would track the story a little bit differently, not plan what I was going to do, but track the story a little bit differently. So there was a learning curve, getting used to that. Green screen, I trusted Neil, which was easy to do, and but I think it would be more of a different experience. I went another way to kind of get back to Darren. Back to Darren.
That answered one of my other questions though anyway.
But Darren's open. I think he's easy with himself. I think he's present. He's in the moment. I think he's a terrifically talented actor, so that was easy. With different personalities that kind of meshed in a certain way. We both have our strengths or a little bit of alpha stuff going on, but it was more blended. We're different ages, different kind of from other parts of the across the ocean from each other. So that I think that all kind of worked. He was fun. He was willing to work it out. He was willing to play a little bit. He was willing to be vulnerable. He wasn't competitive at all on the set. When I say competitive, I mean like teasing and fun. We had to do a whole fight scene, and he was great. We just really worked it out, and we're very careful as best we could be with it. And
you guys bounced off each other a bit, do you think?
I think the fight scene, he worked on it a little bit more than I did. I mean, I think he was more of a leader in that area, but we bounced off each other a lot in different ways. And I could tell he's a big sci-fi fan. And he really, I think, rose to the occasion. I think he was great and looked great on camera. And but the story was great in the sense of, we knew, we had something with Neil in the sense of even that little cage scene. We're kind of caged and imprisoned. There was a lot in the story that kind of superseded, even the sci-fi genre for me. It kind of became about, loss. The characters were all driven by real themes for me. That's what I started to notice, especially as you bond on the set. You start to become these, using yourself, and you merge with the character, and all of a sudden, people start to really form their roles, and you can feel it differently. And the loss of family was in there, and corruption in governments, in this case the Federation, and being locked up. There was a lot of themes that I started to just feel after a while that were not always in the dialogue, but they were around the dialogue. So that was really, really, really great. I want to say more about Darren too. I just have to go back and think more about him.
Also the nice
some great stuff.
Where in the first one you're adversaries.
Right.
The second film, you're kind of trying to work together. But
right.
You've got the war experience, and he's
right.
got the youthful energy.
Yeah.
And the dynamic is fascinating.
Yeah.
In the second film. You're both butting heads.
Yeah. It's it's kind of dynamic, and I won't say sexual, but there is a there's always a who's besting who going on so I mean there was a couple moments where we're face to face, and I'm like, are we gonna fight or kiss, because all that energy goes on, but I think us being different people, and just different from each other, was really worked on all that, different ages. It all kind of worked life experience wise for us to really have that dynamic pretty easily. It was easy for us to be adversaries in the beginning. That was really, really easy, in the sense of just our claiming our own spaces, and the beginning of the movie. And we started out with kind of a lot of intensity for me, which helped to kind of place me in a little bit into the general mode of I'm the general and I get to, command my ship and stuff. So I think that helped starting off the movie that way. And then we, slowly we got to know each other on the film, so kind of progressively worked as we filmed as well as, for the story. But Darren he's just great. He was a lot of fun. We laughed a lot and talked a lot and worked out moments. But we both kind of knew where we were coming from, and you were directing us, so well. There wasn't a lot to tweak. It was good casting, I think, in the sense of all that. So.
Let's talk about the casting process. What do you know?
Well, we came in. I met you on a reading of Mark Zickery's, and you said you wanted to work with me. I didn't think that would happen, but it did, and I was like, wow, these things really do happen. You said you were writing a part with me in mind. I was like, okay, sure, and it actually happened. Guzzo, it's kind of close. And then I came in. I auditioned out of the studio out in where were we? We were at Canoga Park, and it was really, kind of great. I mean, I felt really at home and ready to go, and I saw some of the set, and I really felt excited, and brought some people.
Was there anything that you would like to change on set, or anything embarrassing or bad that happened?
No, I think no. I mean, I think I did the best I could at that time. I think I realized that I kind of been walking a lot and gotten in better shape. I had to lose a little bit. You realize, it's just rigorous fighting and doing, and and I had a couple other movies where I did fight scenes after that, and I realized I really got to kind of, stay in very good middle-aged shape because I'm being called to do these things, and have love interests like Christine Mosley, Christina, and Raja. You kind of have your shit together. As far as difference, no, I think I don't think so. I think I would know my way more around a sci-fi set now, though. I think there would be a different kind of take on it, and maybe a different confidence. It was kind of moving with it. Well, it all works for the camera, though. If you're open to it, your vulnerabilities can be just as powerful as you knowing what you're doing. So I don't really think anything's necessarily bad. I think it's kind of all the way it should be. When you got a good director, he'll tell you when it's off and when it's not there. I just think I would be ready for the green screen differently than this time around, because you just need the experience of doing it. And it wasn't hard. But that's where, going back to the actor studio, you use whatever you need, whether it's an image or a this or a that. Technique is there for when your instincts aren't working. When your instincts are working, just get out of the way and let it happen. But sometimes people can get overly techniqued and miss that, hey, this person's giving me everything I need right now.
So your training helped a lot with the green screen and being able to...
Yeah, your training helps. Yeah, I mean, I kind of relied more on Neil. Really, the imagination was a little bit better, and just relaxing. You got to relax your body enough to just let it happen. And you get used to more and more, not doing a lot, doing something. I mean, Shakespeare helps in sci-fi movies because you got to use your voice sometimes, and it's rigorous depending on the scene. If they're big kind of battle scenes and stuff like that. So going back to doing some Shakespeare and stuff and just being warmed up and ready to go. But I had met Robert Duvall once at a SAG screening. Got to really talk to him for a long period of time. He's one of my favorite actors. And the one thing I noticed about him was that he really, really, really listened. He was so genuinely interested in what you had to say and curious and kind of loves gossip. He's a very funny guy in a weird way. And I really took that from him. I thought, it was an acting lesson just now. I spoke to him for God, it must have been 15 minutes about everything, because he's also a member of the Actors Studio, and, and also Meisner trained to work with Sandy Meisner and all this other stuff. But he was like, what's going on over there? Yeah, you know how he is. He's kind of like laughing and doing his thing. And but he really listens. I thought that was really fabulous. And he's like, yeah, it's got to be 79 when I met him or something. And, his eyes are just blazing. And I thought, wow, what a way to go through life. It's like he's so full of life, and I think that's what makes him, so great on screen at times. He's so there. And I think that's something you can always go back to as an actor. I would say if there's any foundation for me, it's that. Get back with the partner, when you can. Or the experience of the green screen, like in the sense of your partner's now the green screen, or you're what you're doing, But that's...
Tell me a bit about your character, and how did you get into the mode to be able to... I don't know what I'm saying here, but yeah, how did you get into the mood just to be able to, it's such a powerful character, how'd you...
Well, first you like the general, then you've got to, you have to kind of get over your own fears of like, well, can I be a general? You know, maybe I'm a captain. Am I really a general? You know, all the insecurities actors go through. I think the little bit of everything. It just adds up over time. You know, I think looking at the piece, like I said, being on set and having to kind of push myself a little bit the first few days was really helpful. You know, having to get the commands going, get the strength going, and just let go of, like I said, any worries about being good, bad, or indifferent. Just command those ships and get it done. I think that was, you know, Neil's direction, and it was very good for me because you just have to let go, you know, and you have to let go on the set after a while. You can't worry about what you planned. You are the character, you know, you're doing the best you can, and you'll find your way. I think the costuming was great. I think, you know, there was some nice costuming. I think the lighting, the ship helped, you know, the practicals helped. Christina was there the first day. She was encouraging and terrific. Kind of the warrior, you know, goddess behind me. And so there was a lot of good stuff going on right away. I think Mark Zickery was there, you know, quickly, who I adore and like so much, and wouldn't have had this film had I not read for him and met Neil. And he's also been a real champion and a friend and a mentor as well. I've taken his mentor class. But I think you get in little by little. You look at the language, you look at the dialogue. We were doing 2 movies at once, so it was complicated. You trust the director in that part, you know, Neil's experience, so you relax and let go. But you, little by little, try to kind of ground yourself and find out how much do I need, how much do I not need. And you start to, little by little, kind of find your way. And I think just by doing the actions, and even if when you feel it or when you don't, you start to little by little kind of just jump in and get over that threshold. And before you know it, you start to feel the energy of battle, which, you know, you can get in, like just like you, if you were, you know, you were an Israeli army officer, you know, you'd be that person, you know.
So you learned quite a lot on set of Starship.
I did learn a lot. Sorry?
In a sense, you learned quite a lot.
I learned a lot. It was a really great experience for me. I mean, it was great to have, you know, the kind of anti-hero, good, you know, bad guy turned good guy was a great turn for me, and it was great, you know. And I think also the dialogue was well written. I related to the political content within it of freedom, stuff like that, loyalty, honor, strength. Those are all things that I think are important to me. I'm very loyal to my male friends in a way. Not that I'm not loyal to my female counterparts as well, or loved ones or lovers or girlfriends, but, you know, not that I have so many. Let's backtrack that. I wish.
You did say plural.
I did say plural, yes. Anyway, so, you know, it had a lot of what I was saying before, like, you know, your loyalties in the world, you know, your male bonding in a way. And then also it was right up my alley with Raja's character and being undermined, and the love interest and the confusion, which is things I really like to play and be involved with, or deal with those complexities of how does a great person get sidetracked or this or that. You know, I've always been fascinated by that in many ways. That's why I like Macbeth, and just fascinated by stories, you know, how people kind of go one way and all of a sudden you see them in another direction and you're like, how did you had this and go here, you know?
Do you find yourself to be distracted in everyday life, like with women and everything, like quite like in the movie?
Do I have to give honest answers for these things?
No.
Career focused, I guess.
Career focused? Yeah. No, I think I don't think I'm not distracted in that way. No. I'm either serious about someone or whatever, but no, I think you can look at your career and then go. I will say this. I'll say this. When my career seems to get going, I have to make a mental note that there's usually a woman coming right there, because you usually get very magnetic right once you start to like do well, and I just have to make sure it's the right relationship, just like anybody does in life, you know, because you know you can get sidetracked and then start to pull off your focus, and that's important for men or women. You know, I don't think women are the big tempters. I think men do it just as much to women as women do it to men. So
that's a really good point, actually. That's so true. It always happens when you least want it or least
right.
expect
Well, you're not looking for it. You're happy.
Yeah,
you're thrilled. You're like, you know, I don't need anybody, and you're like, hi. You're like, oh my God, hi. You know.
Yeah.
So
Really?
yeah, but no, I think on this planet on a bigger sense. I mean, I think again, without sounding too Shirley MacLaine or whatever, we're having to go to the earth, which in a way is a feminine principle of, and I don't mean feminine like male female bodies. I mean more like, I think the movie has some of this too of the balance in life. I think that Neil gets at the balance of life. Are we in balance or are we in disharmony? Where is it all kind of going? How does the corruption affect things? In the sense we're in outer space, but I think right now on the planet, I think we're trying to find those balances within ourselves. Gender roles have changed, and we're all trying to figure out how it all works. In the sense of, I think women want men to be sometimes a thing of the past, and we're not really anymore. And women have evolved. Everything. Women have always been evolved, but I mean, they're evolving in the social structure differently. They make more money than men sometimes. Blah blah blah. So all that's really changing right before our eyes. So I like that Neil wrote powerful women. None of the women are apologetic or not strong, and yet they're still attractive and sensual and beautiful. But they're real women with full human beings. Yeah, they could run whole governments by themselves. So
keep answering my questions. It's perfect. That was literally my next question.
Well, you know what? I will say this.
Like the strong female, I love that, and Dad spoke about that in his interview too. Just strong female.
Well, I do like that
it's moving.
I like that Neil wrote a piece where the women were very sexy but not exploited, but they're very sensual, very gorgeous, and the outfits look great, and they're form fitting and all that, but they're not exploited. They're really real attractive women. It is more of the goddess energy. I mean, I think we're in a sex negative society. Without getting on a thing about it, I think we really are. I don't think that we really are relaxed about it in the sense of it's either exploited or used as that rather than a natural part of our beings, and I think that Neil has a more natural approach to men and women that I think is more attractive, and hopefully where we're going. It's not sexuality is a choice. It's not, it doesn't have to be a weapon and all that other kind of stuff, or putting someone down or this or that, or and I mean that both male and female. I'm not talking about, one gender over another. I just mean, I don't know if that made any sense, but,
No,
we were trying to. Going off on too many tangents, What else?
Good. He's really good.
What else can we talk about?
You just keep answering them.
Oh, well, good. Ask me more questions.
Let me
I
think.
think she's exhausted all of them.
Did I?
Yeah, no, it's good though. Like, I was just about to ask you about the whole women thing. Okay, here we go. Anything you would change about Starship?
I think you almost covered that already.
Oh yeah, it did. Okay, last one. Are you looking forward to 3 and 4 if there were to be a 3 and 4?
Yes, because I think I know my character now. Oh, here's what I wanted to say. What I was thinking of a minute ago was that because we were moving pretty quickly through 2 films, I had to let go at some point and just relax and trust and find it off the other actors as well as myself. And you couldn't overly, sink into... You could make a choice, but you couldn't sink into like some drawn out preparation, okay? I realized through it that subconsciously some of the things we're talking about were happening. These bigger themes were playing out. And I think that was a part of the casting, Darren was perfectly cast, Christina, Raja, everybody, It was, what was the young man's name? He was terrific too.
EJ?
Yeah, no, EJ was great. And the other man as well.
No.
The Prince.
Oh, yes.
Breck. That was fun too. We had a lot of themes come on. Father, son. There was a lot of great themes. I'm meandering again, but I think I would know my character more moving on to the newer version. It would be interesting to do. I think I'd have a more solid sense of where I was coming from to do more of a character portrayal in the sense of, I don't mean that would be a character movie, but you just kind of start to know your character after a while.
I know that's what Neil likes, is character-based movies. I know that's
what
Starship was really about, like character development. Like you said, you turned into a bit of a good guy. And
right.
Where that could take you now that you're a good guy in 3 and 4 could be...
Well, I think there was a lot of longing of love, which everybody can relate to, myself included. There was a lot of longing of hope in the movie. And I didn't see those all on the page, I'll be honest. It really kind of happened as we did it, and that's what was kind of powerful about the experience. And a good thing, for any actor to trust, myself as the actor I'm talking about. It's just, it happens. If it's the right casting and the right people, those themes start to play out, and the director knows what he wants and where he's going, and he's got those themes in his head. If he starts to allow that, then it really starts to happen, And I think some kind of point I was trying to make here, but that the what did you just say to me? You said something.
Actually, no, it's interesting you said that, because I did actually, those little secret nuggets were in there.
Yeah.
And it was almost just by putting the two people together, something's
Right.
gonna happen, or there's like
bond.
one.
Right.
There's a lot of scripts will override it.
Right.
And I would just put it in there as
Subtly.
one little gem, something.
Yeah.
That I knew if I put you and Christina together, there would be a magic.
Yeah, she's just magical. I mean, I could do any film with her. I mean, she's fantastic, and we've become friends, and she's just a great person. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, she's gorgeous, of course.
Professionally.
We all know that. Professionally, that's pretty much.
What about working with Breck, the kid? Because there was even in there is an interesting dynamic. So he was torn between two fathers. You had this father who's this overseer, the head of the emperor of the galaxy, who's pretty much an ass.
Yeah.
And then there's you, who should have been, who's the real father role.
That kind of just happened, and I don't know how that happened on the set. We struggled a little bit. Young, talented, guy, and something just kind of happened. I think we improvised a tiny bit to kind of let the flow happen, and then once we got back to the dialogue, we were kind of locked in. And I think you really knew where that was going with the father and son thing. Me having had, kind of stepchildren experiences now and different things. I understood that role in a little different way as you, become middle-aged and you look back at your youth, you have a different story to tell. You have a different reflection. And he was just kind of like wide open. He was very, very wide open, and I thought he just did a great, great job. Now, something about being imprisoned and away from him was fantastic. I don't know how you exactly came up with that, but the imprisoned thing was kind of great. It was like the father being kind of imprisoned, and that goes back to, I think, the theme in the story of, for me, which again, a lot of these things I realized were working on me subconsciously, which is not always the case in a movie. I think that again goes back to your vision for it, but it's helpful because you realize the unconscious themes were all there. It was kind of like my own, where have I imprisoned my own father? Where have I felt imprisoned towards being the best man I can be? Those themes somehow were there. And I think somehow through the right casting, he was very open and questioning. It all just kind of spun out. And then with the scenario of being imprisoned, it just seemed to, subconsciously there was a lot being worked on. Even me and Darren, in many ways, I think there was a maybe more uncle, rather than father-son, but there was more like, mates and comrades, and also, and giving way to, to the younger man now having to take over, but yet still being strong in your own way and having certain knowledges and wisdoms, and, some things you're going to go for, some things, no, so, I think that somehow that all played out, and it goes, goes back to the casting, and Darren was so great, and people being so good from their point of view that you're able to really play off each other. Vulnerability is a key. If you can be vulnerable with each other, then half the movie's done. If that's there, then people are going to believe it. So that was. That was
the magic in Starship, pretty much. Vulnerability and the casting.
I think in what?
Vulnerability and the casting was pretty much.
The casting's definitely the most. Whether people can. The casting's the most, and then, good actors are usually vulnerable or open enough to try some things. So I think that we had, and what I realize now, talking to you in retrospect, we had all the elements of family, the wife, the betrayed husband, the lover, the hope, the power, the abuse of power, the violence, and I think we're really dealing with that as a society, so even as a male, going back to genres, having done David Mamet and all these other plays and stuff, looking at male violence or male emotional violence, or even Speed the Plow, which is a great satire of Hollywood, that kind of, cutthroat kind of violence of doing deals in this business. I think all those things are being adjusted, in the world, what's working, what's not. And I think somehow that's also in Starship. There's a lot of those energies, because going back to that, Starship is really well written, and Neil did a great job because they're all character driven. I have a real energy about my son being killed. You know, there's a real thing there. There's also a weakness towards Raja's character. You know, there's all a lot of things going on that complicates life. So I don't think it's just a simple story. I think it's a much broader story set in a beautiful sci-fi theme, which Neil's great at.
Yeah.
So that excites me. You know, I really want to do films with great stories. You know, you want to.
Yeah, you
in
want
the end.
character development and the character.
You do.
This is what like people want to see. Like,
Yeah.
They relate back to the characters. Like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm going through, or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that was a huge part of it. You know, really, really huge part of it.